Hello, this is Brian Whitten and ET Art. I have labelled this video the planets or the civilization's destruction part 2 because there were things I left out of the last video. This video, wow, which is what I put at the end of the video, the last video, just to watch it. It's in full screen mode in this mode. This screen going out of the laptop is not quite as good. I'm just going to let that play. And I just want to have a chat with you a bit. We are going to discuss some very, very important things later on in this video, so stay with us please. I wanted to discuss with you how I felt yesterday actually, to be honest. I thought on this plane of discovery that I was on that we would get to a situation where, because of the unbelievable things I was seeing and finding out, that I would come to you with good news in the end. And well, in the end, it wasn't, you know. It was the realisation and understanding of the pyramid and Serapeum and the planet's axis standing back up, and then the realisation this week or the last week or so with the true reasoning for wave rock and the Yunaguni monument and everything on this side of the planet, meaning exactly what the perils of our planet were. I was rather upset, you know. I'd set out thinking I was going to discover something that was going to be good, and so I was a bit upset. So yesterday I got my kayak out again, my pedal kayak, and took myself fishing to this place. It's called Saltwater, and I had a real long think, to be honest, about a lot of things. The book, the total lack of reply from any officialdom. I'll go back and restart that video again. Yeah, the lack of reply from any officialdom has led me to believe that, you know, I'm sitting here with the pondering of writing a book, where in reality it would appear to me nobody gives two hoots about what I've actually discovered. And if I wanted to just talk about this rock or any other rock that you can do this with, just the discovery of that on its own, let alone everything else, because the rock has told us how our continent was created in respect its shape 6,000 years ago. It has told us, and like I said, the scars of our planet show that everything on that rock and everything that it says is correct. The ocean depth at all the locations, plus the one that is visible sitting in the middle of Western Australia, an asteroid or comet, whatever you want to call them, that is the reality. Everything that has portrayed has been correct. I've just brought up that image, the cross section of the pyramids and the timing for the comets. And the time frame was 15 minutes for this one, and they actually calculated that to scale is actually the planet is propelled down at 9,000 miles an hour. That's the entire mass of the planet is propelled. That's what I'm saying. This is a lesson in planetary science. I'll tell you now, I'm not a physicist, but E equals mc squared is nowhere near anywhere near to do with planetary motion of our planet in a void of space. When a asteroid 120 kilometres wide or 150 kilometres wide that created the Mediterranean, that in actual fact is actually the one that drove the planet down here, is 120 kilometres wide or 150 or 200 or whatever. It's about the width of the, well, I did measure the end, I think it's about 200 kilometres wide, the comet that actually pushes the planet down here. There are two that hit the Mediterranean. The speed the planet is propelled at here is immensely fast for a mass the size of the planet with what hit it. That the propulsion of the planet here is extremely fast, like unbelievably so, to the degree that in this here we are getting a lesson on how also to leave the planet's surface very, very fast as well, because that is telling you how to do it. I won't go into that in this video, but that is exactly what we're seeing here. The reason I wanted to come back here is, once again, as we discussed the other day, the planets, it wasn't just the planet's motion we were discussing the water, okay, or how the oceans behave. And then we went from this one here, and I said to you about a piping system or something around the equator because of that mark that come up. We'll go back and discuss them in greater detail, but we also wanted to know that at this point here, when the planet is pushed down like this, that the oceans are pulled back. And what they're doing there is teaching us how the mass of the planet and the oceans work, because you know why? It's exactly the opposite when we get to the sun. Whereas the movement of the planet here as a mass with the oceans created situations where the biggest waves are driven by the shallowest waters. So in other words, the smaller oceans like the Indian Ocean and such do generate the bigger waves because they're in a smaller area. The Pacific Ocean did not produce as big a waves in this event because it's a bigger ocean. It's the arse of doubt. It's the other way around, the other way. Okay, so when we come up and it's the tides being driven, the bigger waves are on the other sea, and that is exactly why this is the way it is, and it is exactly why wave rock is where it is, because what I'll show you now is why wave rock is where it is and why it's predicting that tides are big where they are, and this is why it's the case. This one here is a movement of the planet down, but it's trying to teach us that the motion of the ocean is exactly the opposite, because it isn't the mass of the planet that's moving here. It's the magnetism of the sun that's moving, and therefore the biggest waves are going to be felt on the larger mass of the ocean and not the other way around. Now I've just got Google Earth open with some lines of very much importance. I will bring your attention first of all to this line. That line is the line that the axis was tilted on. If I went round the Earth, on the other side is the impact in the bottom of South America. It is clearly visible, and I'll insert it now for you. It is clearly visible. This is the other side of the planet, and that is the same red line that's going through the middle of it. It is intersecting Ayers Rock right in the middle, not 1 degree left nor right. It is exact, and the comet that sits over here is 12 degrees at the point of impact, as it is to that line. That is 12 degrees. It is exact, and you can see there 5, 5 and 2, so there's our 12 degrees. You could say that's natural. You could say that is natural. You could go down here to Wave Rock, which is 1 degree further from that line, so Wave Rock is at 13 degrees, and the waves, when you go to look at Wave Rock, are all looking like the waves go in that direction there. Before I go on, I'll say one thing, and it was with respect to the Aboriginal culture. I tried to contact Senator Dobson about this because I didn't want to start talking about Ayers Rock here being placed where it is because of your culture. He did not respond to me either. Nobody has. It is there by placement, and I won't be wrong, I'm sorry. It is the way it is. It is there by placement and look natural, as does Wave Rock look natural, as does that comet look natural, because the entire process of the destruction of our coast by the tidal waves is a natural process, and that is why all of it has been made to look natural. And it is because the very process that causes the problem is in actual fact natural. Now what I want to do is I want to point out to you one thing. If we go from Wave Rock here across here at the same line of latitude, and we go across here to the same line of latitude, we get to a place down here. We have found rocks in many places. I am absolutely certain that where we actually found that rock is at Seals Rock. I went there on a holiday some years back with my partner, her son and my son. We went for a swim right there, and I'm certain that rock was picked up off the beach in this area here. I've got the Yonaguni monument back up now, and I just wanted to show you that what you're actually seeing here, in my opinion, is what happens if we don't do anything. If we do not do anything, or nothing is done, the natural cycle of the planet would have the top of this exposed, by the time we get to a 10 degrees tilt in the axis, which is why it's where it is, 10 degrees away in a lateral sense from the line of longitude that was tilted by the two comets in the first instance. We are seeing here, and that's why it's on that line of longitude, because it's the tilt of the axis here that's changing when we come back in plane with the Sun. The movement back in plane with the Sun depicts that we move as the Serapeum does to the top of this at 10 degrees. We are looking at being able to see that at low tide with the Sun on the other side of the planet, and then you would see the stepping down here being the record of the tide as we go through the process. In the end, when we're, the planet comes to standing at a degree of 1 or 2 degrees. Remembering though what we're seeing here and what we're seeing depicted at 13 degrees, which is wave rock, remembering that this is 8 degrees or 10 degrees I should say, so recording the tides dropping at low tide. What are we looking at wave rock? Mr. Morrison, if we had crossed into the plane of the Sun on Saturday night after your election win, what we are seeing predicted by the megalithic buildings, both the ones left in a high-tech manner and the ones left like this in a natural manner, they are not natural. Had we have crossed the plane of the Sun, this is what would have bestowed Cronulla Beach on Sunday morning. This, in the very early hours of the morning, that is what the concern is. Now, I'm not saying this to create a situation of scare and panic. I'm telling you that what I'm seeing is this. We are looking at a rock, I know, having directed me to these things, but I think we are past the point of understanding when we see loops appear in the middle, and the rock is in clear view of the video camera when you're seeing that. I cannot do that. I'm not doing this to scare you. I'm sitting here in the same kettle of fish. We're all in the same boat here. Millions of people would have died. I want to show you one other thing. Now, I don't mean to be calculating. That's a good joke, but anyway. Listen, seriously, I have seen wondrous things. You have seen me learn some, and I would expect maybe there's a lot of people that have learnt things as well, and maybe even you too, Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. Morrison. I want to show you something. As astounded as I am with the technology that I'm seeing on the rocks, which I'm not kidding, I'll show you something at the end of this, which is why I've moved the camera into a hallway here. I'm going to try and do a different mode of video, sir, so I hope you stay to the end of that, because it is, I said we may be getting help, so I may be coming to an understanding as to what the whole thing's about, okay? But I want to show you something first. This unnatural cycle that the planet is being depicted as having been on for 6,000 years has rotated around the planet at 180 degrees off. And really, when I look at that and I think, oh, okay, well, I need to work out how many degrees or how many years I go in each one of those degrees. Now, when I hit the number and get the answer, I think that sometimes when I'm seeing in what I'm finding, I'm seeing the absolute pinnacle of brilliance in what has been left here for us. But on the other hand, I am seeing the absolute pinnacle of human stupidity at the very highest levels, that to a degree where there are words that I cannot explain, no different than I cannot come up with words to explain what is in the end of this video, because At 3 p.m. I was trying to do, I've spent 3 days trying to do this video. Because of what I've learnt, I haven't made it to scare you, I am just telling you that what I am seeing, in the quietness of what is known, that what you have just seen, that big wave, that could have come on Friday, it could come tomorrow, it could come the day after. I was as frightened to put the rock under the microscope to see whether that 17 had changed. And I see that number come up as a division and tell me that the entire thing that I have come to find and understand through rocks and the understanding of the structures and the way they are designed is known to people to even this point. It is the pinnacle, absolute pinnacle of human stupidity, and I will move on. Now I've just moved my apparatus here just to try and improve our imagery, and what I wanted to do was show you that this is where they're exactly the same spot, just where the South America is, where 17 has come up. It used to be that was where the Roman numerals 4 came up, okay? I wanted to also notice that there are more lines here. I've got that zoomed right in, which is why it's a little bit unclear at the moment. But it was the extra lines there that made me look at something last night. And in actual fact, like I said, this video's taken me some time and it's been quite daunting. I mean, I've just found out my country's going to get smashed as much as everybody else is on the planet very, very quickly. And we're looking at 17 come up here. And I'm sorry I'm listening to these rocks because of some of the things that I'm seeing. I've not made this video to scare the living crap out of people, although it's done exactly that to me in the realisation of what I'm seeing and understanding of the planet. I won't be wrong there. That's why I hope the Prime Minister or anybody that's got a hold of my channel here make sure the information is getting where it was, and it needs to be. There is, excuse me, there is in fact a fix to the problem. Now I want to show you one other thing before I do that, and it is with respect, Mr. Morrison, you are the Queen's representative. I'm in the middle here, that's the way I'm feeling, okay, and no more so than when I actually run the light, moving light over this part of this rock. After I saw this come up, there were extra lines and I thought, well, there's extra bits here as well, I might go and get the light and run through the process of refocusing. And I said we may get help, so I'm going to keep that in your mind, sir, when I insert the video at the end. And I did say they may come to help. 17 that I believe and I said is not years, and it is with the respect I say that. I'm going to bring up some images now and I'll flash through them and you can make your own mind up. I know what I see, okay? I'm just going to give me bear a minute and I'll be back with you in a second or two. I just want to show you this image. It is talking time. It's a message left here by the people that built the pyramids and all these structures, so we knew of this natural cycle that our planet has. We've spoken of decisions made in past generations that have made the wrong decisions. We are being told, in my opinion, there is a solution. In respect time though, I'm going to show you this because I actually went in to try and take a picture of this to put on the car, or business card I think it was actually, and I wanted to get this a little bit sharper and clearer from the original one. This is not the original one, I just quite some months back. It was in going and looking at that I then realised and move the light further around. And like I said, it is not done this with disrespect, and you, Mr. Morrison, are the Queen's, you're the Queen's representative and the Australian elected Prime Minister. So this is not done for any other reason to tell you that the message left on the rock had to say a time, and their time has been left, as it has in my opinion, with the number 17 and what happens with this image when I move around, and I will show you what happens when I move this image and the light around. Now with this image we see now is a young queen with a naked breast, a jewel if it looks like it on her, and she has a long thing here, and she's obviously young. It is with respect, like I said, the people that have left these messages for us had to leave a time, and they leave a message, in this instance, in a pictorial sense, and they said 17 in a numerical sense, and it's the same rock, okay? And like I said, I got these images some months ago, and like I said, I've had some very daunting things to deal with myself in the revelations of what I was finding. The destruction of the planet was not one I was going out to seek, but it was one I found. Nonetheless, it still had to be dealt with. Not necessarily bad news, like I said, I gave, in this lounge room, the football was on last night, and instead of watching it, I actually had a thought process that I didn't let go for a couple of hours, and when I finally did, the footy was over, and I realised I just missed the footy. So, but in that thought process, I have an answer, and I will get to it. So when I show you these images, I will let you decide what you see, but I see a transition of a young woman with an Egyptian hat on, this is right up here, this when you zoom it on the microscope and go up and down. I have only the ability to show you this much at this point. I will show you the next following images. I'll let you decide what you see, but I know what I see, and if it's a depiction, this is why I'm saying the 17 isn't years, and it is not said with disrespect, it is said with logic. The woman I see depicted is in her early 90s, and it is not said with disrespect. It is purely and simply an observation of what I'm seeing, okay? So I'm going to show you what I see, and then we'll move on. That's one image. And just moving the light around, she changes. And she moves from this image, which is where it first starts to sort of exhibit itself. You start to see another version of a face come in here, and when you move the light just ever so slightly, it changes from what it was to images like this, which are obviously not the same, and they do go right down to the last one, which is this one here, which is pretty unbelievable. But nonetheless, this is what happens, and I know what I see here. And if it's a time frame, it is not said with disrespect to the Queen of England, but that is who that looks like. And it is said that their visit is in her reign. That is all it's saying. She is the Queen of England when their requirement to be here is on the cards, and it's on the table. And we've got 17 there. And like I said, if it was 17 years, I don't think Queen Elizabeth is going to be reigning in 17 years. I'm not with disrespect to the Queen, or I'm not a royalist, that's not a difficult thing to understand. But this is what we're seeing here, so that is why I'm saying 17 months. Now I've got that image open where I want you to look at now, and this is originally the original image. Like I said, it had Nibiru here and the man standing here, and this was the Great Australian Bight, and you can see that that was the comet mark. The question mark there was what made me question that, and that is what made me go and look for that comet in Western Australia. We discussed that in the last video, I'm not going to rehash. The thing I wanted you to see here that we can see quite clearly, I will zoom in, okay, and we will just see where this image is, you know, I mean, look at that. You can see the bottom of the Great Australian Bight here around the Port Augusta. There is no bright mark on this coastline here. None. It's never had a bright spot there. It has only come up, and as silly as it sounds, you've seen all these sort of bright marks too. They've all disappeared. These not even here anymore, these things. This has disappeared. So we've seen the marks come and go. All I'm saying to you is right there is a bright mark on that last rock. It's the same rock, it just disappeared. And the one that came up is this one here, and it's the only one that is bright. These went away when I made the understanding as to why they were there. What you were seeing here is one of the reasons why we should be very, very, very cautious of any changes in our social media laws, really, especially when you look at my videos, anybody else's, and they're all the ones I watched to make me understand what I was looking at. This is how we get around the problem. It is the very same principle. I do not know whether we have the technology nor time to complete such a task. You think, yeah, look, Brian, how can you get a bloody pipe across the Pacific Ocean done the right way? That control of water around the equator has to be on the surface of the ocean. That is certainly my understanding, and my sitting here for an hour or two in the quietness of my lounge room last night thinking about it. Excuse me. What happens, you don't have to worry about putting the pipe out across the ocean if you've already got the sound in it, because the effect you have to have from using this type of process with the pipe on the surface of the ocean is that it flattens the ocean. There is no wave to be seen for 100 miles in every direction, and that is how it works. It actually controls and gathers molecules together. The band around the planet creates a situation where the oceans can't be lifted up like that, and that is how it works. The technology, whether we have it to expand for a kilometre either side, this is the beauty in the fact that it is only 200 kilometres in the sun's magnetic plane, because it becomes controllable. As much as you see the peril brought to us by the short span across the plane of the sun of only 200 kilometres, I should say, 100 either side, that is also a beauty to us, right? Because it becomes its own peril. The fact that it is such a narrow band, it can be controlled. And it can be controlled by, like I said, a pipe across the ocean around the equator that can flatten the ocean and join the molecules so that when it tries to lift any one point, it can't, because the oceans are actually clamped through a audio. I thought it was going to be a moving water through a pipe. It is not. It's going to be something of this nature. I'm certain it's going to be something like that is required, and not an electromagnetic force. Now I've got that image open where I want you to look at now, and this is originally the original image. Like I said, it had Nibiru here and the man standing here, and this was the Great Australian Bight, and you can see that that was the comet mark. The question mark there was what made me question that, and that is what made me go and look for that comet in Western Australia. We've discussed that in the last video. I'm not going to rehash. The thing I wanted you to see here that we can see quite clearly, I will zoom in, okay, and we will just see where this image is. You know, I mean, look at that. You can see the bottom of the Great Australian Bight here around the Port Augusta. There is no bright mark on this coastline here. None. It's never had a bright spot there. It has only come up, and as silly as it sounds, you've seen all these sort of bright marks too. They've all disappeared. These not even here anymore, these things. This has disappeared. So we've seen the marks come and go. All I'm saying to you is right there is a bright mark on that last rock. It's the same rock. It just disappeared. And the one that came up is this one here, and it's the only one that is bright. These went away when I made the understanding as to why they were there. Now I'll go back to that image and I'll show you once more what I mean. Now Mr. Morrison, I've got that image up. This is, like I said, this is right now as of this morning. And I was glad, like I said, that I still saw 17 written over there Oh no, sorry, it's up here. You can't see 7 there written. Here we have the Great Australian Bight in Port Augusta on this rock. We've spoken about it, and we've also, like I said, had the comet impact that was in central Western Australia, which was found from this rock, and the mark there in question mark, which is also gone. We have seen this go back, but we've got all our other marks are gone now. This is gone. All these other marks here are gone. They are the only two marks that are left, and even the Ayers Rock one has faded. So the only mark left, sir, is this. And I'm asking you if you would, and understanding what we've gone through today, and understanding what we have come to the understanding of in the movement of the planet, sir, would you please send a detachment of naval divers to the line of longitude that is directly under Ayers Rock, sir, please, and investigate what is there, because that has come up right. It is right on the coast, directly and depicted under the line of longitude that Ayers Rock is on. It is something of extreme importance, and I would expect, sir, that it may very well be, certainly I would expect it to be a tide marker or something like that, like Yunaguni, and to tell you and prove to you that even though Ayers Rock is a natural thing, as is the comet in the middle, as is Wave Rock, that the placement there of a tide marker and the placement of the tide marker Unaguni is telling us that, exactly that the other structures that I've just mentioned to you, that you perceive as being natural, are there because the event is natural. And that is why I'm really pleased to you, sir, to get a detachment of naval divers to that area and see what you can find. Now I'll just show you one other thing. Okay, now I've just brought very quickly, before I go back to that 17 number, what I was just saying, that this is one round circle, this one came up, and then the next one after that, the next, within, like I said, me making the video, then this one came up. Okay, so we've got a half circle and a full circle, so that's what I'm saying to you. I would see that this is a control point. You can see how these have come in, and it's not a hair that's blown in. This is rock, has ability to be able to put lines there and let me understand what the hell's going on. I know it sounds pathetically stupid, but that's what's happening here. So that's what's talking about, controlling the one around the equator, and the next one here is the one north to south. I'm certain that's what that means. It's got to crisscross the biggest ocean, that one across the middle is ample on the others, which is why that the Egyptian, that Egyptian fan looking thing, the fan blade or whatever they want to call that, I don't know what it's called. But that is what I believe those two marks are indicating. Now I'm going to sort of finish the video, but I want you to stay around, right? I'm going to start it and I'll kick it off and have a little bit of talk. But when I said to you, I feel like I'm an intermediary here, or somebody in the middle here that's supposed to be passing the messages. And to you, Mr. Morrison, I'm serious. This could have happened, bang, yesterday, and we would all be dead if we were at the beach yesterday. And you can call Wave Rock a natural occurrence, but I'm absolutely certain that the imagery that I took off that rock that we saw on the one that 9 from 9 video was this rock here, and you can see it is nothing special. It is a sandstone rock, and the imagery is absolutely amazing. I've also said in my past videos that I said that they may be coming, and like I said, and I've got to a point where I can't really help much anymore. Now I've come to where I'm getting close to finishing the video. I do urge you to watch the end of this. I might even jump ahead, although the video here is only 4 minutes long, so it's 4 minutes of your life, it won't kill you. I didn't mean that to be funny, that's not funny. this is part of the rock where the 17 come up here, and when I said to you I saw an extra white line coming out there, and I thought I might just put it under the microscope and have a look at what I can actually see last night. And I'll be honest with you, as much as you might think I'm being blown away by working out the planets being tipped off its axis, and like I said, I've never entered a secret society or any such things. My knowledge and direction has come through as strangely, or as strange as it may seem. Initially, like I said, the finding of this rock by my son twice. And as you can see, it's a far more archaic looking one, but I didn't think it was an aboriginal type of rock. And so there's what I moved on from here. So such a 6 months, my 6 months has been absolutely blown away. And then come to the realisation that not only do I then solve that issue, I then realise that in reality the things that we've been left telling us about our planet's motion are in actual fact telling us a very, very dire natural occurrence driven by the magnetic force of the sun on our oceans, one we have not experienced because we have not been in plane with the sun. Now, when Mr. Morrison, I will address you directly again, because I said to you, I feel like I'm an intermediate here. This changed, and there was a couple of extra white lines, so I thought I'm going to put that under the microscope. As blown away as I have been to whatever has happened, this is only 4 minutes long. I urge all of you to sit and watch that space there. And I'm not even going to tell you what I see, because I think what you will see will be very, very clear. So I'm going to finish up. I have come to a point now where there's not a lot I can do. I think when I said to you that I'm an intermediate, maybe, be that they are coming and they're trying to fix this thing. And if you watch this, it really is amazing. I'm not kidding. I was blown away beyond all stretch of the imagination, sitting there moving my light around there to see what was transpiring. I might just move it just a tad closer to see, well, that looks pretty good still to me. I might just leave that and I'll let you think about it. You can also manipulate the imagery as well. It is difficult to get a very, very good picture in a lit living room like this, even doing this. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'll be honest, I've spent 4 days trying to do this video, and I've had things like this, understand why and what my purpose was. I see some very, very, very amazing things coming into this here. Amazing, astounding beyond all stretch of imagination. Having said all that, if I put it up and I can't see it very well, you will not hear this video, at least this part of it. Listen, I would expect from having seen visions like this, where it's got 17 written, that 17 months away, that they're going to have to come here. And they're going to have to do what is necessary. We've got to have these things across the ocean, or we are all going to be swept away and our lands will be barren. There will be no soil left anywhere. You cannot go through hundreds of years, even let alone weeks, with tidal waves as depicted on our east coast without having the east coast disappear. I will leave you with that thought. It's not a very pleasant one, but in this imagery I would expect that we're seeing, certainly to me, I'm seeing an expected effort of assistance and their presence necessary to achieve the objective. If we can't do it ourselves, they may very well be coming to help us. So all I know is that's what the outcome is here. I can't see much more than what I can see. I can't do much more than I can do. And I'm not going down to South Australia. We haven't got the time. I need you, Mr. Morrison, if you would please to do as I requested. I will, like I said, finish up with this video today, and I did open a beer before, and I opened it with a bit of intrepidation, I suppose, and have it with a beer and say, well listen, I have come to the end of what I think I was supposed to let us know about. Look, I hope that comes out clear, honestly. You should see that on my screen. I might even redo it and cut it in and just keep my audio here, but I will finish up at that for a bit. As far as writing a book, quite frankly, that's 17 months away. Seriously, writing a book? If nothing is done, there will be not one newsagent on the east coast of Australia that I can put my book into. So I'm going to hold back the publishing of such a thing, and I've still got a chapter or two to add, it would appear. I'll leave you with that, and I'll let that roll out with that imagery, and I'll come and stop it when it's finished. Thanks very much. This is Brian Whitten and E.T. Art. Cheers.